Good morning, everybody. My name is Barry Schwartz, and this is the Search Buzz video recap. Today is Friday, November 13th, 2020. I guess that's a bit creepy, but we got a lot to talk about. Busy week. We had a possible unconfirmed Google algorithm update. Google announced the official date of the Google Page Experience update release, which will be in May 2021. The interesting part is not that, it's that it's coming with new indicators or labels in search. Google has renamed Google Webmaster Central to Google Search Central, and a lot of information on machine learning in search, so stay tuned. Okay, so first up, we discussed that there was a possible Google algorithm update. The issue was, I think it was somewhat of a continuation from the November 4th unconfirmed update, but definitely saw chatter from the 6th, the 8th, the 10th, and even now, a little chatter. Seems like there's some tremors going on with this update. Some of the tools showed spikes on the, I believe the 10th or so, but it doesn't seem massive. So if you did see some changes, maybe it just affected specific niches, but you definitely aren't alone if you saw changes there. Google officially announced the date of the launch of the Google Page Experience update. That's where Google is going to take into account the Core Web Vitals metrics, page speed, a bunch of different metrics like we had before, HTTPS and so forth, but now also bundled into this Core Web Vitals package, which you can see in this chart over here. The date will be in May 2021, which is a 6-month time frame from now, so you have time to prepare. The most interesting part about this, we haven't heard before, is that there's going to be some testing of visual indicators. So we saw this with mobile friendly, so it showed the site as mobile friendly. We saw this with Google labeling sites as being slow in the past. We saw this as Google testing, showing, obviously they show the AMP icon, and a bunch of other indicators where Google would basically show indicators around, this site loads instantly and so forth. So obviously Google doesn't have those labels anymore. They do have the AMP label, but they don't have the other labels. So we'll be interested to see how Google tests showing a Core Web Vitals or Page Experience update. Is this site a good update experience? I'm not sure what they're going to label, but that's going to be the main reason why people want to switch or people want to get ready to make sure their sites and their pages are doing well with the Page Experience update. Because they're going to want that indicator, at least from the onset, because the click-through rate on those pages will probably be higher than those that don't have the icon. With that, there was somebody who said there's this iFrame loophole where you kind of trick Google to think that your site is doing well with Core Web Vitals. That loophole doesn't really work because the Chrome user experience report does not, basically takes it into account. So you don't have to worry. Google will figure it out. It will take into account iframes. The other tools like the Lighthouse tool and the Dev tools don't currently, but they will. So don't worry. Don't try to trick Google. Google will probably figure it out. Big news this week from the Google Webmaster Central team is that they're changing the name to Google Search Central, which makes sense. They changed Google Webmaster Tools to Google Search Console because of the name Webmaster is kind of very restrictive. They wanted to make it available for developers, webmasters, publishers, you name it, site owners, anybody who has a website, not just webmasters. And they did the same thing with Google Search Central. This was 5 years ago when they changed the name to Google Search Console. Now they are changing the name to Google. Now they're changing the name 5 years later, which I thought they would do sooner. I thought they would change Google Webmaster Central shortly after they changed Google Search Console, but they didn't. So anyway, Google Webmaster Central was actually first known as Google Sitemaps when it first launched in 2005, I believe. And then in 2006, a year later, they changed it to Google Webmaster Central. And then 14 years later, they changed it to Google Search Central. The only issue with that is now we have Google Search Console and Google Search Central all have the acronym GSC. That might be an issue. I don't know if they thought about that, but it is what it is. So everything is being migrated. It's a big SEO experiment. Google is migrating all the blogs, a lot of the content in the Search Developer Relations Center. They're moving all the social channels. It's a huge migration. I'm not sure if they're looking that closely around SEO considerations with that, but I'm sure SEOs will be analyzing this and seeing how it goes. Back to the URL submission tool, the re-indexing tool. Like I said, Google, about a month ago now, said they are going to suspend temporarily the request indexing tool within Google Search Console. Well, John Mueller this Monday, I think, posted a survey asking, what do you want this tool for anyway? What can we do better with it? And then SEOs were like, oh, why are you posting this tool? Does that mean you have plans to take it away and not bring it back? The interesting part, like I said last week, is that Google released a blog post saying, here's how to prepare for the Black Friday shopping season. Now, Black Friday is here right now because Walmart, all these sites are doing Black Friday deals right now online. But that being the case, Google said, oh, we'll probably get it back by Black Friday, but not really back. I mean, the Thanksgiving is coming up soon. We have time for it, but it's not back yet. That being said, John Mueller, I asked him directly, do you have any plans on removing this request indexing tool? And he said, absolutely not. I have no specific plans to do that. Of course, he might not have plans to do that. Somebody else might have plans to do that, but we will see. So I spoke to Martin Split, and I asked him, does Google use machine learning for crawling or rendering? And he said, not for rendering, but we potentially use it for crawling. He said, it might be an experiment or it might be live. He's not exactly sure, but he said we do potentially use it for crawling purposes, specifically for predicting or trying to predict the quality of a URL before they crawl it, and two, to try to predict the freshness of a URL before they crawl it. Do they need to crawl because the content is being updated frequently or not? Predict that, as well as try to predict, is it even worth being crawled? Now, Google used other signals for this in the past, or they might probably do now for both those things. Should they bother crawling it fast because of quality and freshness? But now they're using machine learning to try to figure that out, which will be very interesting. This is very interesting to hear. Also, Bing, as you know, and we spoke about this before, uses machine learning for everything. All their signals go into some big machine learning thing, and the signals are weighted differently based on machine learning. That should come as no surprise because we discussed that before. And John Mueller spoke about how may Google release Google Passage indexing visually. So we know the screenshot Google shared, which I'll embed over here. As you can see, the screenshot, it kind of looks like a feature snippet, but Danny Sullivan actually said that feature snippets and passage indexing are completely different. So it's very interesting to see. I'm very interested to see how it might roll out. Is it going to be a visual difference? Is it just going to be a back-end difference, which you don't see the difference, but it's just a ranking change only and no visual change? But Google did show a screenshot in the original blog post, so kind of thinking it might look visually different, but we will see. John Mueller said they're going to experiment for sure. That's what Google does, and just be on the lookout for what Google might do. John Mueller also said that when it comes to redirects, Google puts those redirects in this kind of shared cluster, and then it takes that shared cluster of URLs based on the redirects and uses all the various signals, which we discussed last week about how Google handles duplication, duplicate content and so forth, how it handles those duplicate URLs. So it puts all those redirects into some type of shared cluster, and the canonicalization methodology for figuring out which is the actual canonical URL is then used, which we discussed. Google even uses machine learning for that part. If you want to listen to that video, check it out from last week. Google posted a new video, a 2-minute video, describing what search quality evaluators or raters do on a day-to-day basis. It's kind of like a PR video for sure, something you guys know, but if you want to kind of explain it to clients, it's a great video to explain to clients how these search quality raters actually work. As we discussed a month ago, Google announced that they're going to be crawling some sites over HTTP 2. Google's only going to be doing that if they feel there's a benefit for the site in terms of efficiency, server management and so forth. So that actually happens now. Google updated their search developer documentation last night to say GoogleBot may crawl your site over HTTP 2. That is live in the search developer documents. I'm not sure if they're actually crawling over HTTP 2. If you see it, let me know on Twitter. Show me some evidence of that, and I will hopefully cover it as well. Google also announced in their developer docs they now support, based on their guidelines, Q&A schema specifically for STEM education-related pages, so homework assignments and so forth. If you want to add Q&A schema for those types of pages for your students and so forth, you could definitely use that for Q&A schema and structured data specifically for STEM education-related homework assignments. Beware, Google My Business listings are on, hijacking is on the rise. Joey Hawkins and a bunch of people are saying they're seeing an uptick in the number of business hijackings happening in the Google My Business Center. That means people are taking over your Google My Business listing, changing their phone number to your phone number, and then taking all your leads. So be very careful. Make sure to verify your business and make sure to keep on top of your Google My Business listing. It seems like also Google's reviews in Google My Business, Google Maps Local are being delayed. Google said they should have it fixed hopefully sometime today. But if you are getting complaints that your reviews are not publishing in Google My Business, Google Maps, Google Local, you are not alone. There's lots of people who have that issue. I also tested it, and it's been over 48 hours since my review that I tested has been published. It hasn't been published yet, and I will hopefully see it over the weekend. We just noticed Google testing this, Google hotel safety and health and safety data, where you can actually see the health and safety data of a hotel. That is now officially live according to Google, so you can add that data into Google My Business listings, and then that will show up on the front end for your Google hotel listings. And Google is testing bolder font sizes or font type for the URL in the actual snippet. Here's a screenshot of that so you can see it over there. Any event, thank you so much for listening to the Search Buzz video recap. Just so you know, if you search for Diwali in Google search, there will be a holiday decorations. Usually Google has holiday decorations for Christmas, Kwanzaa, and Hanukkah. But now they're actually showing it for Diwali, which is about a month earlier than they would show it for the other holidays, the end of the year holiday season. So if any of you celebrating, have a nice holiday. And anyway, thanks so much for listening to the Search Buzz video recap. Happy Friday the 13th. Be safe, everyone. And everyone, have a great weekend. Again, my name is Barry Schwartz, and this is the Search Buzz video recap. Today is Friday, November 13th. Have a great weekend. Goodbye.